Hello and welcome to video number 3. This is pre-launch and what needs to be done. So to better understand how this works, in just a moment, I'm going to show you a mind map of what your pre-launch video is going to look like. In other words, we are going to dive in and I'm going to show you what the evergreen video marketing funnel will look like. So before you show anyone your videos, you want to make sure that you get them onto your email list. From there, then you'll send them to video number 1. Now, don't worry, I will show you all of this in action in the mind map in just a minute. But first, I wanted to kind of briefly talk about it first. In other words, you want to get them to opt in so that you can send them your videos each and every day. Otherwise, you won't be able to do that. The purpose of an evergreen funnel is if somebody subscribes today, the videos will be shown to them based upon when they sign up, rather than during a specific time and date. With that said, let's jump on over to the mind map software, which in this case, we're going to be using lucidchart.com. You can use anything that you want to. And I highly recommend this software because it really allows you to take all the details and ideas out of your mind and put them down, organize them so that you have a visual idea of what is happening. Because believe it or not, when you're about halfway, sometimes you're frustrated, you want to quit. But if you have that visual mind map right in front of you, it will motivate you to continue. Of course, if you don't want to do a computerized mind map and you want to stick with pen and paper, do whatever suits you best and stick with that. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so this is what your evergreen funnel using these 4 videos is going to look like. So first things first, let's just put this box here resembling your prospect. They're not a customer yet, they're just a prospect. And we'll make this a little bit bigger so that you can see it. Like so. And here's where they're going to go. Obviously, you're not going to send them directly to the 4 videos. You want to send them to an opt-in page. Now, you'll notice that a lot of places like Leadpages and ClickFunnels and all of that, they will have a lot of times these 4 videos, which is a product launch 4 videos format. So what it looks like is this. Oftentimes you'll have a videos 1 or video 1 box, and then you'll have video 2 up at the top. And then you'll have video 3, and video 4. Sometimes I've seen, we've seen video 3 videos, 2 videos, and then sometimes 4 videos. And then a lot of times you'll see the actual video in the middle. And the reason why you want to do this is because what this will do is it'll tease people. So when they opt in, they're going to see all these like thumbnails, but they can't necessarily go to it just yet. And what happens here is when they initially opt in, they are then going to go to a page. Now, the opt-in page is going to look like this, like that. So imagine this being the whole page right here. So you got video 1, 2, 3, 4, and then of course video number 1. So that's the opt-in page, and usually you want to have actually the opt-in page, you could have something like the opt-in form. But then after that, after they opt in, then you can send them directly to another page which has video number 1. Now, then you want to add them to your autoresponder. So we're going to do this. So this is opt-in page. So let's do this. So this then links to the video 1 page. And the video 1 page looks, like I said, looks like this, except the video, instead of the opt-in form here, you have video 1. And then of course you send them over here, video 1 page, and that goes there initially. So from there, you want to definitely add them to your autoresponder. So if they've opted in, then of course, yes, they are on your autoresponder already. And we'll just call this AR, autoresponder. So they then get signed up on your autoresponder, and then you send them to video 2 page. So video 2 page is going to look very much like this, except for this video here is going to have video 2, and then video 3, and then video 4. So that means you're going to want to create this many pages. And don't worry, we'll do a recap in just a minute so that it's not confusing. So once they sign up on your autoresponder series, you send them directly here, but then you can also send them an email that says, welcome, thank you for signing up, here's video number 1. So that way they're presented with it immediately and via their email box, so that if they forget about it, they can refer back to it later. Now, what you're going to want to do is in the autoresponder is to set it on a 1-day increment. So every day they get a new video, right? So day 2 is going to be video 2 page. And of course, day 3, video 3 page. And of course, last but not least, we have video number 4, which is this page here, which is the offer. Now, in addition to that, you might want to set up some sort of scarcity. So you could set up this so that after they get the offer, you decide how long they have to act before the offer disappears. And you can set up a scarcity page that says something like, sign up here before it ends, kind of thing like that. So that's getting a little bit complex, but if we go back to the basics, now that you understand what this page should look like, I'm going to try to simplify it just a little bit. That way it's not too confusing. So we're going to scroll up here like this. So that's the opt-in page. Now that you understand what the opt-in page looks like, I'm just going to directly link this to the autoresponder series. So prospect comes to the opt-in page. They're like, oh, I'm excited about this. There might be hope. They sign up. They get sent immediately to the video 1 page. So we can say immediately. And let's just move this way, and then we can type in day 2, day 3, day 4, and then of course you have scarcity. So if you want to pause this video and just go ahead and jot this down, that would be beneficial to you. So again, we have the prospect. They sign up on the opt-in page. They are then added to the autoresponder series. Immediately, they get video 1 page, but they also get an email. All right. So the reason why this is so crucial to have a visual map in front of you is because a lot of times you'll get to this point and you'll think, okay, I've added them. What do I do next? What do I do next? And as easy as it sounds to do, especially this part here, it can get complex later on because there's so many moving pieces of the puzzle. So I hope you enjoyed the basics of the mind map of the marketing evergreen funnel. And with that said, let's move on to the next video and talk about a quick overview of the 4 videos. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 4. And we're going to jump right in and talk about the 4-step video blueprint. And I'm going to give you a quick overview before we dive into each and every one of these videos. So now that you have a general overview of the plan, let's discuss why these 4 videos are so important. So you've likely seen how big product launches use a certain number of videos to pre-launch their product. Now, these 4 videos will work really well together. However, if you decide that a different angle will work better for your customers, then obviously test that out. Now, there's a certain number of elements that you need to cover in each video in order to correctly pre-launch your product. Now, the main benefit of using these videos is that they're not just useful for your pre-launch, meaning you can continue to use them after your product has been launched to convert prospects into buyers. So once you've officially launched the product using the pre-launch videos, then you can turn it into what we were talking about earlier, which is the evergreen video marketing funnel. Now, I just want to make it clear that there is no right or wrong way of doing these videos. Like I mentioned earlier, you can do it however you wish. We're just giving you a basis and an outline, and you can tweak it based upon how you feel your audience is going to interact better. Because obviously you know your audience and your prospects and your customers way better than we do. We're simply giving you blueprints which you need later on to tailor fit to your product and service. So here are the 4 videos as follows. We've got video number 1, which is motivational and hope. We briefly touched base about this in the previous videos, how a lot of times people they don't have the hope and they feel like I've tried this, I've tried that, there's no hope, there's no solution. And your goal of this video is to break that mindset, show them something totally opposite and perhaps controversial, different from their mindset, and to try to shift their mindset to essentially what you're trying to sell later. So the reason why video 1 works so well is it disarms them. It makes them feel like it's not a sales video. Because if you can imagine, most videos typically will start at video number 4. And by starting by video number 4, you lose a lot of people who aren't really aware of your product and service and don't necessarily trust you just yet. So video number 1 will oftentimes help you gain their trust, help them relate to you and you relate to them, and so forth. So we'll dive more about that in that particular video. Then, of course, we have video number 2, which is education. And since video number 1, we talked about motivational, there's hope, there is a solution. You don't necessarily have to tell them what the solution is. Video number 2 is kind of like teasing them about what the solution could be. Maybe you don't really necessarily talk about your product per se, but you can elaborate further by educating them, giving them essentially training or content. And if you think about live webinars that you've been on that you've got a lot of good content from, that's a little bit of what this video would be about. So you're not necessarily selling yet, you're just giving a really good content that would give people a lot of aha moments, it would answer their objections, and it would get them in the frame of mind of, yes, I am ready to buy. What is the solution? And that's where we bring to video number 3, which is the secret system. The secret system is essentially your secret. What is your solution, your blueprint? What is your secret sauce that you have discovered that other people have not? But at this point in time, remember, you're not necessarily selling just yet. You just said, I've discovered a secret. This is what it is. You don't have to tell them exactly what it is, but you can tell them enough where they're like, okay, I understand there's hope. I understand I'm educated now, and I understand there's secret sauce, but how do I get access to this system? How do I get my hands on it? And that's what video number 4 is, which is the offer. So like I said, most people start with video number 4. But if you start with video 1, 2, 3, and 4, then you're better likely to convert somebody, and you're better likely to gain their trust, and they're more likely to buy from you. So let's go ahead and jump into these videos one by one and more in depth in the next 4 videos. Okay, so just want to say congratulations on finishing this course. You're almost done. This is kind of a bonus on how to get your videos created professionally. So once you understand what needs to be included in each and every one of these individual videos, then don't worry about the next step. We're not going to assume that you know how to create videos. So we're going to talk about how to get it created. So in this video, you're going to learn tips and tricks on how to get your videos created either by yourself or a professional. Now, I have to warn you, if you're trying to get it done by yourself, I will say that you don't want to make a video that looks like crap, because if that's the first impression that you give your customers, then they are not going to buy from you. So these 4 videos have to be the best quality videos. Now, I realize that some of you are very creative and some of you have sort of a director type mindset. And if that's you, then I will point you to some softwares that you can use to create these videos. But if that is not you, like the most of us, then I will show you how to get it created by a professional. Now, I'm going to show you some secrets on different ranges, different budget types. If you've got a low budget, if you've got a higher budget and you want to go all out and you want to get the most professional video and you want to know how to do that and how to find the right professional, we'll point you that direction. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so let's start with the best looking, most professional, but the most expensive budget. Now you might be asking why in the world we are at a wedding website. Well, I'm going to tell you, the best videographers in our experience typically are those who create videos for weddings. And here's the reason why. We've hired a lot of videographers over the years, and we found that the ones that typically are the most anal at their work are wedding videographers. I'm not generalizing here. There's a lot of really good videographers out there. But the reason why what we found and what we've discovered is because if you're aware of you've had a wedding before or you've been to a wedding, you know that they are very, very, very particular about getting everything right. So that puts a lot of pressure on the wedding photographer or the wedding videographer. And typically they are just really, really good. They're able to see different angles. They have to do it really fast. And typically they're very experienced. I'm not saying that for everybody, but what we've discovered that to be true. Now, of course, this is going to be the best quality and professional for you if you're trying to do a live talking head type video, meaning you are talking in front of a video. Now, the reason why we say hire a professional is because learning the ins and outs, buying the camera, buying the equipment, and all of that can run you into the ground. And then that doesn't include trying to learn the equipment, trying to learn the audio, and all of that. So take it from our word, from our experience, that that is the case here. So one site is called weddingwire.com. And if you go up here and you can actually go to weddingwire.com/wedding wedding dash videographers. And if you go to here, you'll actually be able to search for videography based on your zip code. Now, I will warn you, of course, it's going to be a lot more expensive. We're talking about a couple grand here. Now, it's going to save you a lot of headaches. And a lot of times people think, well, I'd rather go the cheap way. And that's totally fine if you want to go the cheap way. Just be aware you're going to have to spend more time and money. Now, if you don't want to do a live talking head type video and you want to do maybe an explainer video, you can do that as well. There's a site called Animatron. So if this is you and you want to create videos yourself and you're not super creative, but you want access to a marketplace filled with hundreds of pre-animated graphics and pre-animated sets that you can use for your videos, your 4 videos, then Animatron is good. There's a lot more out there that you can take a look at as well. But as you can see here, you can create these kind of cartoon-like whiteboard type videos. And you could do that if you want to do it yourself. Now, personally, we recommend that you use live people because there have been studies and psychology studies that show that when other people can see a real human being talking directly to them who is smiling, a lot of times that will actually help your conversions. Now, if that's the case, you can also mix and match, meaning you can mix a video spokesperson with a video like this. So you might have seen videos where people are speaking and then it switches to kind of like a cartoon animation, and then it switches back to the person, back to the animation, and back and forth and back and forth. So you can do something like that if you don't want to hire a wedding videographer. And by doing it this way, you'll probably save a couple $1,000s, but you are relying purely on your own creativity. A really cheap place that you can go to get video spokespersons is Fiverr.com. That's Fiverr.com. If you go to the top, you search for video spokesperson, as you can see here. And then what you want to do is you want to pick and choose somebody that looks like your demographic. So if your demographic is 98% women, then you're going to want to choose a woman. If it's 98% men, you might want to choose a male. So that's why if you have 98% women, you do not want to choose a man because it's not relatable. They want to feel like they can trust you. And they can trust you when they hear your story, the motivational part, and they feel like you have gone through their suffering, essentially. So as you can see here, you can literally get, just by paying $5 to up to sometimes $50, you can get somebody, depending on how long your videos are, you can get them created for fairly cheap. But by doing this, you will need to kind of mix and match this with some animated video. Now, another site you can go to is Envato Studio. And to get there, you go to studio.envato.com. That's studio.envato.com. This is a great place to go to if you want to hire creatives, people who are videographers, video editors of all sorts, animators, all different types of people. So if we type here, video, you can see there's 235 services found. We've actually used Envato and had really good results from it. Now, be careful. A lot of these say things like, we'll customize an After Effects template. What you're looking for is a explainer video. So maybe we'll narrow that down a little bit further and we'll type in explainer video. Explainer video is a simple term for a promotional video or a sales video. Now, as you can see here, don't just go for the price. Look for somebody who has really good experience. So make sure you take a look at the videos that they have created for other people and see if that actually measures up to your audience. So if you're talking to, let's say, 98% really professional women, then you may not want to choose something like this. You may want to choose something a little bit more professional. But if it's a laid back environment, you may want to choose something more laid back. And you'll see explainer videos work really well, especially for a lot of online services. And the reason why a lot of explainer videos work is because they are cartoons. They typically will take down the defense guard that people will raise, especially when they think that you're about to sell them. So explainer videos are cartoon based, so they bring people back psychologically to sort of a child state of mind where they've watched cartoons. So it's a great defense breaking mechanism. Of course, last but not least, if you are super creative and super technical and technical savvy type person, then Adobe Premiere is a really good software. But I don't recommend this unless you're someone who is highly technical, like I said, and can learn how to use it, because there is, unfortunately, a big learning curve. There's a big misconception that people have that, oh, if I have the tool, then I'll be able to create the end product. Not necessarily. You have to have the creativity and all that. So that's why I say, number one, hire a wedding videographer if possible. And if not, if you want to do it yourself, then totally fine. You can save a couple grand and probably spend a couple $100, but then again, you're going to spend probably a lot of time. You're going to spend probably about a few weeks at minimum. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. And like I said, live video is the best, but then mixing it together with some animations as well is great as well. So congratulations for reaching the end of this video course. I hope you enjoyed this course, and just make sure that you take action. Okay, so welcome to video number 7. And we're going to talk about the blueprint video number 3. So now that you have an audience with renewed hope and you've answered their objections, you've educated them, it's now time to move into sort of a teaser of your product and service and the secret system. And no, it's not time to sell them just yet. You will do that in the last video. So I think that takes a little bit of pressure off of most people, knowing that you don't have to sell. And it's because at this point, your prospects have just begun to trust you. They're thinking, okay, I want to know more. I want to know more. Educate me more. So in short, this video is going to focus on the secret blueprint, or what we call the secret system that you have discovered. So in other words, this is kind of a unique selling proposition, or what makes you unique and different from everybody else. So let's jump right in and outline this video. Okay, so just like video number 2, video number 3 is going to connect the previous video by giving a recap. So imagine you need to make sure that you connect the dots. 1 connects to 2, 2 connects to 3, 3 connects to 4, obviously. But not just that, you need to make sure that it flows so that people remember. So give a recap. Remember, people will forget what you taught earlier. So try to recap the most important pieces of that video. Now, bear in mind that you really only want to keep these videos to max 10 minutes if possible. If it has to be 15 minutes, that's fine if you're giving a lot of really good information, or it can be longer as long as you're giving really good content. But bear in mind that most people's attention spans are very, very short, so you really need to keep it short. Next, you want to briefly discuss what you'll be talking about in this video, and that you'll be revealing the secret system or the secret sauce. So what makes you different? What makes you unique? Next, you want to discuss how you came to discover this through a similar story, through the pain, through the struggles that they have been through. So in certain respects, you're recapping the same story that you referred to a few videos ago. And then, of course, you want to teach them what they need to do to win and beat their current struggle. And then, of course, you can tease the sale, but don't go into it at all. So essentially what this is you're just revealing that this is a secret. This is something that your competitors don't have access to, but this is something that only you discovered. Or maybe you discovered it in a specific way. You also want to take the common, frequently asked questions and answer them. And then any objections that you have not answered that are left on the list, answer those in the form of a case study and the results from you and your client. So very similar to the previous video, you're still educating them as to why this is a secret system and why this is unique. And essentially what you're also doing is you're showing them social proof that you have the results and the case studies, and your clients have tried out your product or service and they're doing quite well. And of course, you want to display video or audio testimonials if possible. The reason why I say video or audio is because people's voice becomes very powerful when somebody can hear their voice and see their picture. Or if it's video, it's going to be even better than audio because people can see the person's face. And especially if that person's face matches the demographic of the person that you're talking to, it's most likely going to convert very well. And then of course, last but not least, to connect to the next video, which is video number 4, you want to preview what is coming up next. You can briefly talk about there's a solution that is going to come in the next video. You don't necessarily need to talk that they're going to buy a product, but they will get access to the solution. That way it looks like you are helping them. Hello and welcome to video number 5, and we're going to dive in and talk about the blueprint for video number 1. So we touched base briefly before on this, but we're going to dive deeper. So I want to ask you a question, and that is, have you ever watched a motivational video online or on TV, or a video that had a story in it that sounded similar to your own story? And as you watched the video, you felt motivated, you felt hope, and you felt moved. Maybe you thought otherwise. Maybe you thought this doesn't work, and by watching the motivational video, you felt like, okay, maybe I've tried a few things in the past and it hasn't worked, but maybe it'll work this time. So that is motivation and hope, and that is essentially the premise of this particular video. So let's dive in further. Perhaps you were going through your own struggles in life. You have a specific problem. And as I'm talking about this, I really want you to think about things that you have struggled with in your own life. And you had a specific problem and you searched and searched and searched, and you just didn't find a solution, and you were losing hope, literally. So think back to that time. If you need to pause the video, feel free to do that. But go back in time, think about that for just a second. And think about a time where you have made up your mind that a solution does not exist. Or maybe you've tried plenty of solutions and none of them worked. You see, the reason why I want you to feel that way and remember what that feels like is because that is what your prospects feel. So can you imagine if you created a video immediately selling to them, how much they would be turned off by you? Or how you, in that sense, in that situation, you would be turned off if you didn't know anyone and they just immediately went to the sales pitch. So if you're in that position of disbelief and you don't believe there's hope in that area, and then somebody sells you a solution, then you are considered someone who has not made their mind up and you're just going to walk away. So, like I said, creating a sales video that goes immediately into selling, that used to work a decade ago, and it can still work if your prospect is fully aware of the solution. So we're kind of dealing with people who are not aware of the solution or not aware that there is a solution versus people who are aware that there is a solution and that you are the solution. So sending a sales video to somebody that already knows you is okay because they already know you, they already know what you provide and what you sell and how you can help them. So those might be your list, your existing customers, or people that have associated with you. But here's the reality. The reality is that that amounts to a very small percentage, oftentimes less than 10%. So your goal on this video is not to sell. Hopefully that relieves a little bit of a burden, but to give people hope that even though that they're thinking this is not working, you get to tell them that this is working, and this is working not only for me, but for other people who have tried this product. Now, you don't even have to talk about the product yet. The goal here is not to sell. The goal here is to just reveal that their mindset is opposite. There is a solution. There are possibly case studies that you have to show that this is working. Now, to better help you with this, I really want you to think for just a second. Ask yourself this question. What emotional pain does your product or service solve? Really think about that for just a second. Pause this video and just think about that. And from there, why do you think your prospect is saying blank solution is not working? So maybe as an example, somebody who has high cholesterol and they're worried that they might be getting a heart attack. And you have a solution to help them lower their bad LDL or bad cholesterol. And they feel like, okay, I've tried this, I've tried that. I want to go the natural route. I don't want to be on pharmaceutical drugs. How do I do that on a natural route? So in this case, the emotional pain is there's no hope. I can't do this naturally. I have to go with the pharmaceutical route, which has all these other side effects and all of that. So knowing that, we know that the prospect is interested in some kind of homeopathic natural route. And at this point in time, they're looking to buy, but they've tried all these supplements and nothing is working. So, and then from there, then you ask yourself, the prospect is thinking, okay, I've tried all these natural solutions. Why is this not working? So if you have a product that will help them, or you have a guideline or system that would help them lower the cholesterol by resorting to natural avenues rather than pharmaceutical drugs, then you can tell them that. You can motivate them through that. So again, what can you tell them that will give them hope? That you can tell them, even though this is the mindset that you're having, you can totally contradict that mindset. And you can bring in the golden nugget or the secret blueprint that you discovered to help them find that solution. Now, the reason why a motivational video is so powerful is because it really disarms your audience. What it does is it breaks down their walls. When somebody listens to you immediately upon watching your video or coming to your site, they're immediately thinking, okay, what is the ulterior motive of this person? And if it's a motivational video and you're just trying to empower people, it breaks their walls down because it doesn't make them feel like you are selling. So imagine going to a car dealership and the car salesman immediately finds them, he starts selling them, he says, this is great, this and that, versus you have somebody else who comes up and says, hey, what are you looking for in a car? Okay. And the person says, yeah, I'm looking for this. I can't find this. And it's like, you know what? I know what you're looking for. So listening to the prospect is going to break down their walls. Now, obviously, a car dealership and all that is very different from a motivational video. But the point here is it just makes it so that it doesn't feel like you're selling. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So now let's talk about some practical application. Let's jump right in, and I'm going to show you a step-by-step outline of what this particular video looks like. Okay, so before we get started, I would highly recommend that as we go through this, that you either jot it down with a pen and piece of paper, or you pull out your smartphone or iPad or computer and you type it along. When you type it out, it's going to become muscle memory, and you'll be able to actually create a script really, really fast. So again, video number 1, this is the motivational section. And the first thing you want to do is, of course, thank them for opting in. So remember, when they opt in, they will then see the video number 1. And then after you thank them, you tell them what they're about to learn, but you don't want to tell them everything. So in other words, you want to tell a little bit to kind of pique some curiosity, but you don't want to give everything away, if that makes sense. So say thank you for opting in. We're going to talk about this. This is what you're going to learn. And one thing I will say, when you write out a video script, asking questions, especially in the beginning, oftentimes will do really well, because what will happen is it'll invoke curiosity. People will begin to have kind of a conversation between you and them and in their heads. Next thing is, in other words, what do they have to gain by watching your video? So what is it that is going to be interesting about your video? Now, you can do all of this in kind of a story. You can jump straight into a story and insert these elements into your story. And by doing that, and by sounding more motivational, it's less likely the person is going to get their guard up, and they are more likely to listen to you. Another question is, what kind of opportunity or benefit will benefit them? So what kind of opportunity or benefit will they get? And then, of course, I say here, jump into the story. But like I said, you can, however you wish, you can either start with the story, you can start with the question, and then start jumping into the story. But you want to get as quick as you can to the story, or the motivation, or the hope, or whatever element that is, really, really quick. Because then it's less likely the person will leave. Because what we've found over the years is the first 10 seconds to the first minute is typically when somebody has made up their mind. Usually it's the first 10, 20 seconds. So you want to get as quick as possible into the story. Now, remember that your story is really their story, but from your point of view. So you want to make sure that as much as possible that you match up their story with your story. So in other words, if you're talking about their struggles, their pains, the things that in their mind they've lost the hope, you want to make sure that that matches up. So that's why I said, remember that your story is really their story, but from your point of view. Now, you want to keep this part less than 5 minutes, but this will be the meat of your video. So by meat, I mean the main part of your video. Or if it may not be your story, you could talk about a character and their story. Or you could pick out a client's story who went through your system or your secret product or service and got some results from that. Now, right here, the next part is only talk about areas of your story that dig into their pain, their struggles, and their day-to-day emotions. Then, from that point, move on into a state of something or state of mind that contradicts their current mindset. So where they are now, where they're thinking there is no hope, how do you get them from that state of mind to something that contradicts that says there is hope? Or I used to think like you because I went through something similar with what you went through, and now I am the opposite. Something that is controversial, something that contradicts that is actually what will suck them in and become intrigued. And then, of course, you want to teach them something, give them sort of an aha moment that supports this contradiction. And so they can walk away thinking, wow, I got something out of that. You added value, you've got my trust. Another thing you want to do after that is think about the objections that you would normally get from a customer or a prospect that they would say, well, would this actually work? Think about those specific objections and try to list out about 10 because you'll need them later. But answer one of those objections in a story format where you or the character overcame this objection. The next thing you want to do is preview what's coming up in the next video, which is the educate video. Now, just to recap, if you go through this whole thing again, and feel free to pause the video at any time, but if you go through it again, make sure that you write it in story format. Now, you can mix and match. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can have it where you can have some objections, or you can have several objections. You can have whatever you think would work best for your audience. Now, if you're thinking, well, I don't really know what works best for my audience, then try this out, test it out. All right. So with that said, let's move on to video number 2, which is educate. Okay, so let's talk about the 4th video in this series. So last but not least, this is the 4th and final video, and it's going to be the offer. So it's time to make an irresistible offer that your prospects would like to take action immediately and become your buyer. So here's a pro tip. In addition to that, you'd want to build scarcity by creating a deadline. Now imagine this, you create a sense of urgency, making them want to act now. Otherwise, what's going to happen is they are going to wait next week or a few days, the price will go out, or they will never get access to it again. So you want to make sure that you let them know that there is a deadline, there is scarcity, and when the timer ends, and the doors close. And like I said, without that sense of urgency, people will tend to wait. Their lives will get busy, they'll totally forget about you. So again, let's go ahead and create an outline for this. Okay, so similar to video 2 and 3, you want to connect the previous video by giving a recap. Then what you want to do is, after the recap, which can be a couple minutes, give the offer. Make sure that it's a good deal. Then discuss the case studies and other testimonials, again, of people that have been happy, that took your offer previously, and they're doing quite well. Show how the product or service is worth 10 times more than what you're asking. So what you can say is, this is a product, this is what it's going to do for you, here's the list of the benefits, here's how it's going to benefit you, and here's the price. But you don't want to go straight into the price. You want to say something like, let's say the price is $1,000. You could say, well, this price is actually worth $10,000. But we're not going to charge you $10,000. We're not going to charge you, and then start decreasing 5 times down. So 10,000, could be worth it, but we're not going to charge that. We're not going to charge 9,000. We're not going to charge 7,000. We're not going to charge even 2,000 or 1,000. But today, and only today, during the special launch, you can get it for something like $497. And then give the offer link. And then once you're done with that, as people are clicking the link and all that, you're still going to get people that are not sure. They're not sure if it's going to be enough for them. So what you can do at that point is you discuss any extra bonuses or fast action bonuses for those who take action immediately or as ASAP or as soon as possible. So you could say, well, for those of you who immediately take action today, for the first 20, you'll get access to this. And make sure that you give a time limit. You can say, this is going to last till Sunday evening next week or 4 days later. And once that is going to happen, then we're going to close it down. And make sure that you continuously give the offer link, and ask for the sale. A lot of people don't ask for the sale, and by not asking, you will not get. So just by asking for the sale and not begging for the sale, but just giving it, handing it over, and allowing people the opportunity to get access to it in a helpful way, they are more likely to take action. So I hope you enjoyed that. And as you can see, it is an outline, so you will need to create your own script, but how you do that is going to be based upon your product and service. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 2. Let's jump right in and begin to get on the same page on understanding what it means to plan your pre-launch. So to better understand why a pre-launch is so important, you really need to understand that the reason why most product launches fail is because of a couple things. You see, most vendors that we have seen over the years typically create a product and immediately launch it, even if there is no buzz around it. So the question is, why is buzz so important? Well, it may do okay initially if you're lucky, or it may do horrible. But the point is that if you want a marketing funnel that converts over and over again, time and time again, and does not depend on a specific date and time, then this is why you're going to want to have the pre-launch and the product launch videos. So the pre-launch, of course, is what we're creating now, the 4 videos. But after you launch it, you can still use those 4 videos as the continuous evergreen product launch videos. Now, a lot of times you'll see vendors do product launches that will make anywhere from 5 to 7 figures. In other words, they're doing really well. But then when the launch is over, it makes you a couple sales per day, and eventually the product then dies. So that's why we see that a lot of products have a lifetime span. They do really well initially, and then the vendor will close it, they'll reopen it, have another launch, have a special launch during holidays, and it'll do well, but eventually it gets closed down. So if you're looking at a long-term view and you want a long-term funnel and a long-term business, then you definitely want to have videos that are pre-selling your products and services. So in other words, you want to have what we call an evergreen sales funnel. You want it to extend the lifetime of the buzz, right? Now, most vendors assume that people know their product exists, or worse, they assume that their product immediately solves all their prospects' problems. Their prospects are going to come, they're going to buy, but the reality is it's far from that. So the truth is that the majority of people don't know that there is a solution out there, and most of all, they don't know that you are the solution. So we don't want to make the same mistake here of assuming that our prospect already knows that a solution exists. You see, most of the time they assume that they have no hope, But your goal is to motivate them and get them to see that, yes, there is hope. And that's actually the first video, is motivation and hope. And we'll dive into that in more depth later on. So what the videos will do is it'll take somebody who is totally unaware that there is even a solution, and then show them that, hey, there is a solution to your problem. Even though you feel like you've tried so many things and there's no hope, there is hope. Or, they're totally unaware that you are the solution. And they are aware that there are solutions out there, and they've tried other solutions, but they've walked away frustrated. But the goal here is to get them excited and ultimately become Welcome back. This is video number 6. This is the blueprint video number 2, which is about educate. So now that your prospects see that there is, in fact, hope, it's time to educate them. Now, what do I mean by that? No, it's not time to sell them yet. Think of this kind of like a webinar, except that it's not live. So you're going to give them really good information so that they walk away wanting more. Your goal is to merely shed light that there is hope, and then continue to break their walls and objections. Now, all prospects have a reason why they feel that there is no solution. And we don't necessarily know that, but that's something that you will need to figure out, and maybe talk to your prospects, sit down with several of them to figure out exactly the different scenarios. Now, it is, of course, your goal to figure out what those objections are. So like I said, sit down with them and try to jot down what their common questions are and what are the common objections that they have. Another good way to do this is to talk to your customers, those who may have already purchased your product. If that is not the case, you can't really do that. But if that is the case, then you can sit down with them and say, what were your objections before you bought my product or service? And then once you bought my product and service, how did those objections change? So you should already know this, but if you don't, one secret that I can tell you and one shortcut is to take a look at your customer support help desk. Look carefully into the people who complain the most. Now, what I mean by complain is constructive criticism, not the people that just whine and complain and scream and pout, but rather the people that have valid constructive criticism. Think of those people. Oftentimes, these people are asking the very same questions that other people are asking too. Maybe oftentimes 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000 are very vocal and they're giving valid constructive criticism. But the other 999 people, or how many other people, are not voicing them out loud. They're just thinking of it and they're leaving. So what you want to do in the beginning, of course, to make sure that it flows correctly, is to connect the previous video by kind of giving a recap of what you talked about in video number 1, which is the motivational video. You got to remember that people will forget what you taught earlier. So you want to briefly discuss what you'll be talking about in this video. And then after that, you want to give another recap of the opportunity or the benefit that you promised in the prior video. And then you want to give a recap of the story that you told. You want to keep this short, of course, so that they are going to remember the hope that you promised them. Now, there's still going to be a little bit of skepticism in there. So you want to make sure that you back up this hope with proof. So you can do that in several ways. You can demonstrate your results in an educational format, not a salesy way, via a case study. You can also demonstrate your results in an educational format via your client's testimonials, or if your client was able to sit down with you and be part of a case study, you can provide that in an educational format. So what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, that you're showcasing your client's case study. So in a non-salesy way, you can show what happened before. Maybe the client had objections, they lost hope, but then they tried your product and then this is what happened. So you definitely want to do that in a non-salesy way. And I know I keep repeating that, but the more you are more educational, you give them information that they can walk away thinking, wow, this was a really good video. I want more. Then you want to teach them something new that will conquer another common objection. So as I talked about in video 1, which was the previous video of the Blueprint series, I talked about you need to figure out the objections and create a list of them, because what you're trying to do here is sprinkle them throughout the 4 videos. So in this case, you could teach them several things, several objections, and then how you can conquer those. The next thing you can do is teach them what they need to do, the what's, the whys, but not the hows. So you got to remember the what's and the whys are what do you need to do, why do you need to do it, but the hows are going to be left with your product and service. So you could give a few, but you don't want to give everything. Otherwise, there's no point in buying the product and service. So give them the what's, the whys, not the hows, on how to overcome another objection. So as you can see, there's a pattern here. Find the objections and you'll pretty much get a good script going. And then of course, in between, give some aha moments and golden nuggets of value. And of course, last but not least, you want to make sure that you connect this to video number 3, which by giving a preview of what is coming up next, which is the system or the solution or the kind of secret sauce of what makes your product and service different, what is something that you discovered, and you'll be sharing that in video number 3. Hello and welcome to this video course on how to generate pre-launch buzz for your product launch with these 4 powerful videos. This of course is video number 1, which is the introduction to product pre-launching with videos. Now, I want to start by saying that the primary goal for this course, just to recap, is to show you how to script out each and every one of these videos according to what you're selling. Obviously, I'm not going to know exactly what you're selling, but I'm going to do my best to give you an outline that you can use to customize it to your product or service. Now, before we get started, I want to give you a quick overview of what's inside this video course. Video number 1 is, of course, this video. Video number 2 is planning your pre-launch. I wanted to make this video to make sure that we are on the same page. Video number 3, we're going to talk about what exactly needs to be done. And I'm going to show you a mind map. We're going to map things out so that you understand visually how things work beyond just the 4 videos. What do you do? How do you get people to opt in? Where do you point them and all that? We're going to map everything out so you have a better idea on the general bird's eye view. Video number 4 is the 4-step video blueprint. We'll give you a quick overview of the 4 videos themselves. And of course, we'll dive in video number 5. We'll do video number 1. Video number 6, we'll do video number 2. Video number 7, we'll do the blueprint for number 3. And of course, number 8, we'll do video number 4. And of course, last but not least, we have video number 9, which is getting your video created. So once you have an idea of what it should look like for videos 1, 2, 3, and 4, we want to give you a better direction on how you can get your videos created, either by yourself or you can hire a professional video spokesperson. Where do you go for that and all of that? All right. So let's talk about what you need to have in hand to get started. Obviously, you're going to need to have your product or service. And then, of course, you're going to need to have money to either hire a video spokesperson, someone to create a video for you, or you'll need to have video software to do it yourself. All right, so with that said, let's move on to video number 2.